We are CEOs, executives, educators, and professionals from all sectors of society who support the global expansion of betterment in the world through joy and joyely. I'm your host, Sheryl Lynn, founder of the Chair of Joy Experience. Together, we have developed the World Council of Joy, and our council invites CEOs and innovators from impactful organizations to the JOYELY Podcast. We showcase how generous, bold, and fully engaged they are in their work and what a culture of joy is to them. Good afternoon, everyone. This is Sheryl Lynn again in JOYELY Studios, and we have another fabulous guest today, a CEO named Brandon Newman. And I know all of our listening audience are very excited to hear again how people are showing up these days post-pandemic, if you will. I'm being optimistic about that. So welcome, Brandon.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here.
All right. First of all, tell us where in the world you are today and a little bit about your firm.
Well, we're lucky enough to be back in the office. We're based here in Draper, Utah. We like to call it the Silicon Slopes. It's a high-tech environment here along the Wasatch Front, the Wasatch Mountains. A lot of skiing in my backyard, but now looking forward to a little bit of golf. So here in Utah, travel all over the U.S. for work, but this is where we're based.
So how did you come up with the idea for Savant?
It's self-preservation. I just had a conversation with one of the largest health plans who's looking at our platform, and we got this chance to say the same story. But another company that I had started, this is number 7 or 8 for me. Lucky enough to be able to have an opportunity to start businesses and succeed. The last business, we were having a number of clients that needed a special type of service model, and the way that we were headed down, it forced us to have to run dozens of reports, analyze them, and we were starting to burn out in terms of number of people that had to manage reports in order to manage clients. So we developed something just internally for ourselves, and found out that it was something that the market wanted. So we started using it. The market found out about it the next day. I had a call from a very large company that said, "Hey, that's something we've been trying to fix for a long time. Do you think that we can find out where you bought it?" And I turned to my business partner and said, "Let's start one."
Brilliant. And when was that?
That happened in 2016. We brought it to market in 2017 in full-fledged.
So tell me where you are now. What's going on client-wise? What's the interest level during the pandemic? Those kinds of things.
Yeah, healthcare is kind of interesting. You don't really have a lot of peaks and valleys in healthcare. People are sick, and they need their medications, they need their treatment. So analysis of that, which is what we do, has been consistent through COVID. We've been blessed with a great set of team that we're able to go remote and continue to take care of customers and our product. But in terms of what our clients are doing, we are a company that's grown well over 100% year over year since we started. And post-pandemic, at the end of the year last year, we had a number of investors that came knocking and said, "Hey, we're very interested in the success that you are having. We'd like to put a lump sum in together with Savant and put a little fuel into the fire, if you will." And overnight, we doubled our employees all during the pandemic. Shockingly, it's an utterly insane move, but we did it. On the other side of that, we're looking at a 500%, 600%, 700% growth this year.
Congratulations.
It hasn't come without some headaches and certainly some late nights, but we really strive for a culture here that says we help one another, and I think that that's the one culture that has really made it successful.
Well, we're going to talk a lot about that in just a little bit, if you don't mind. But my mission is to really get people to understand who you are as an individual, to have this kind of success during what others might consider the not best time in the world to be starting and expanding and doubling employees. So we'll get to that in just a second. But based on everything you just said, what do you think the impact is for you right now? What is the thing that you are leaving people with that is the most powerful?
Well, I think that there's twofold. I usually start with our team and then our clients. What are we leaving our team? What are we leaving our clients? We strongly believe in an outward mindset, and that starts with ourselves. It says that Susan, who's across the hall, has some goals, But we in corporate America have sort of come around to this idea that we have to focus on only our goals, not we as an entity. And so this outward mindset says, I can influence her and our entire team can influence Susan, and vice versa. Everybody's going to support what I'm doing. And that it's a sort of this kindergartner-like approach, but what we learned early on in our evolution of life, really we got to get back to, and it's really been a really godsend for us to be able to say, enough with the individual goals. Let's focus in on each other. How do we support one another? And before you know it, every individual has a team of 30, 40, 50 other people supporting them, and vice versa. And it really empowers the team. It empowers them to say, hey, I'm looking at a particular situation. I'm going to go ahead and make a decision on the benefit of everybody else. And we don't judge them for them. We don't say we don't do it. As long as we have our guardrails of quality and security, go for it and trust them to make that decision. And before you know it, you end up having, I hate even being called a CEO, but you end up having 30, 40, 50 different CEOs running your business. And on that front. On the other side, the same occurs with our clients. And so if you call any one of our clients, what you're going to hear from them is, Savant trusts us. If we call them and say, hey, I have a problem, they're not going to get offended. They're going to say, hey, how can I help you? And that sort of dynamic of going down this partnership together with their client that they trust us, we become truly a partner and a consultant and someone they can trust. And it has allowed us to go from a little bit of penetration within a large client to a much, much larger penetration in developing this trust.
So in a world where 71% of people are disengaged in work and 50% are looking for a job while they're at work, what would you say about your engagement level at your company? Are they showing up? Are you feeling like you need to chase them down? What's going on? Well, based on everything you just said, I'm super impressed, but I wanted to ask anyway.
It's one thing I don't do is I don't try to brag about anything that's going on. So a little bit of uncomfortableness talking about it. We do an employee survey. It's a bit engagement, it's satisfaction, it's overall, are you feeling empowered to make decisions and to run your part of the business? For 2 consecutive surveys of this, we've had 100% employee satisfaction and engagement. It's not something I take lightly. During that process, we certainly have, had 1 or 2 employees move on. Sometimes it doesn't always make sense, but based upon who is here, they are saying we are happy. We again, it goes back to this notion that you have to trust and you have to empower. And when you do, and they feel like they are responsible, not only are they working hard, but they're also, feeling like they're appreciated and they feel like they mean something. They're not just someone underneath the empire of the CEO. The CEO is just one of the people that have a job to do. And I think that that's what we're really striving for.
You check so many boxes in what my work is that I can't even tell you right now. It's just ridiculous. So thank you for being who you are. How many employees do you have?
Right now, 35, and I say 35 with tongue in cheek because I know there's a number of others about to be hired and coming on board. By the end of the year, we should be about 65.
That's just wonderful. I bet if I asked a lot of them, which is a lot of what we do, is ask your team about you, that they would have some pretty incredible things to say. So I appreciate that you're being who you are. So that's my next question is, who are you that you get to be? And I'm going to call it joy. There's a difference between happy and joy in my world. Happy is kind of something if you're feeling sad or you got some fear going on, you might buy a car and then the car breaks and then you're not happy anymore. So joy is kind of more of a sustained. So for our conversational purposes, I'm going to ask you about joy. So who is it that you get to be this a joyful human being and really just permeate that through your entire organization?
Well, listen, it hasn't come without a lot of, trial and error. I recently did an interview where they asked, what's your secret success? And I said, hey, straight up, it's failure. Failure is my secret to success. And Michael Jordan said it best when it said, hey, I fail every day so that I can succeed, or some variation of that statement. And although I'm a product of the 80s and I followed him everywhere I went, I even stuck my tongue out when I played basketball. I really caught hold that if I learn where I fail, then I'm going to know where to succeed. And embracing the broken is absolutely something that I feel not only contributes to an organization and success, to say it's okay to be broken. You can't be perfect in everything. Get over it, find it, and then continue to find ways to improve upon that. But it's grounded me into say, hey, that joy says I'm okay, not hitting every metric, calling an investor and say, yeah, I know that you wanted this. We worked hard, but guess what? We also found in that process of failure, we found 5 other products that we didn't know we had. And now if someone wants to pay 10 times that amount, that's what we're discovering this year alone. So the joy isn't so much, and I will say this, the joy is not in the destination. I've had plenty of exits out of very successful businesses. And what I've learned is, unfortunately, is I thought at the end of that trail, I would have this massive amount of joy to look in that bank account and see a bunch of zeros followed after some number, and I would be happy. And in reality, it didn't do anything for me. I just looked at it, and sure, we went on a vacation or two and we bought a few things. But what we found out is that journey getting there was the absolute best part of getting there, and which is why I'm sort of the serial entrepreneurs say, let's keep going. Why exit, retire, and leave? Let's keep the journey going so that we can continue to be happy or joyful.
So what would you say, this is kind of the same question, but I'm going to ask it 2 different ways. So maybe I will get a clear answer because it's different words for different people. But joy is, to me, the ultimate destination. It's the one thing that we all yearn for. We all have different ways and paths and careers, and we're all getting to more joy. So if you were to kind of give me a legacy or your joyful goal, the thing that you want to be remembered for, do you have something you might say to that?
Yeah. If I have one thing that I'm remembered for, it's that I didn't stay at the work. I didn't go to my office. I went home and I spent time with my family. At the end of the day, we all have a purpose. We all have a reason for doing what we do. And if we don't keep that in mind, before you know it, you won't have them. And so, that joy for me says I work really hard, and it's part of the values that we have here that says work really hard until you're done. Put in 8, put in 9, whatever the hours that you think you need to put in, but put it away and go home and go spend time with the people that are part of your life. And it's not just your family, it's not just your friends, it's your entire community. And that joy says I'm an integrated part of the community that gives and shares and receives joy together. So, if I get a plaque at the end of my life, it'll say he's a family man, not a CEO.
I love that. I love that. I love that. And I think that your impact in all 35 of those employees and their families and children and grandchildren is probably permeating so far beyond you don't even really realize. So, wow.
That's the hope.
That is the hope. Congratulations. That's huge. So I know you told me that you would contribute failure to the reason for your joyful demeanor. I'm just curious if there's a human being that enters into the picture there as far as somebody who was most impactful around joy.
Yeah, I mean, there's a number of people in terms of those that have impacted my joy. Candidly, there's points in your life where you can decide to give up. And if I'm being candid, that happened for me about 6 years ago. A number of different scenarios, health conditions, all that sort of, was faced with. And I was kind of at that point of saying, why am I after this? Why do I fight? Why do I keep doing this? And there were about 4 people that immediately saw the change in that joy in my life and, stepped in. And it, when I talk about it, it brings me a lot of joy, but a little bit of, little tear every once in a while, that said that they cared enough to see and watch the joy change in my life. And they didn't say, go change. They just said, what can I do to support you? Let's go spend some time at lunch. It's just time spent. So really close friends, an incredible supportive wife who just listens. Those are some of the people that made a massive impact in my life.
Have you ever dropped your phone on the floor, on your face, or in some other embarrassing place? Don't you wish there was something you could attach to your phone case that would help you hold your phone so you don't have to? Or at least as much. Introducing Steady Straps, a comfortable, adjustable, strong, elastic strap with 100% Velcro brand closures that helps you hold your phone more securely without dropping it and use it easier and faster, especially one-handed. It's the only smartphone grip accessory without adhesives, and it's 100% wireless charging ready without having to remove or adjust it first. Check us out at steadystraps.com and order some today.
That's really incredible. You're so centered. It's very calm, and you really seem clear to me. That's really great.
Well, when you get broken, and I don't want to encourage everybody to go get broken, but there is a process that you go through that you stop worrying about a lot of things, and you start embracing the things that really matter, and just tossing the stuff that just, it's just noise in your life. So I'm trying. I don't want to say that I'm there. As soon as I say that, I think that I'll stop being happy.
I'm wondering if I could take you through a little bit of that Share of Joy process that I just told you. I met with Chantel Krebs, who's the CEO of Miss America, Jeffrey Hazlett, who's the CEO, past foreman, CMO of Kodak. But I think it's something I find people have a great value with. And so I'd love to share a little bit of it with you so our audience can hear you go through the process.
That sounds great.
Yeah, I don't know what you're talking about, young lady Sheryl, but it sounds great.
Let's hear it.
So here's what I want you to do. The whole idea that when I purchased the chair, it was just to show people that the more you sit still, the more you focus on family and those joyful experiences and all the thing that you're just referring to, the more zeros, the more, maybe weight loss, or the more, opportunities show up in your life. So running so fast is not the answer. And you've already said that. So this is the process that I learned and that we take people through. So just put your feet on the ground. And the first thing there is just to go like, damn, my feet are on the ground. The ground never moves. When I wake up in the morning, I put my feet on the ground and I can trust that it's always there. It's solid. So for stillness, if you can feel your feet on the ground, actually for 10 seconds, you've arrived at this presence or this stillness where all the inspiration and all the opportunity and all the problem solving is coming. So just feel your feet on the ground. And I'm going to be quiet for just a second. Your toes, your socks, wiggle your toes a little bit, but just focus on your feet on the ground. Your feet are on the ground. And then just look around at your whiteboard and everything that's in your room. Take appreciation for the fact that, damn, I built all this. And then also listen, maybe there's a fan, or I got a little wind going outside my window right now, but just taking that little bit of time and getting real present. It's like a bowl. I always say it's a receptacle that's upside down. If nothing can get in, there's no inspiration, no more opportunity coming in. But if you're opening it up and letting it in, that comes in silence. So, and then from there, just take a deep breath. And I ask you to give me one joyful moment in your life, something we haven't already talked about, but one thing where you kind of had it all click in, everything was all together. If you could describe that to me, I would love that.
I have a deep love for my family, and immediately I go to the experiences that I get, and I hate to mention one kid over another. I have 5 children. One's 20 all the way down to 9, and I wasn't quite sure on 5. My wife was, and I finally let go. And it was one of the biggest chaotic, ungrounded decisions that I had made, but I did it based on a trust and a good wife saying, hey, I want 5. In walks the true love of my life, my youngest daughter, who has me wrapped around her finger, and the true joy that I'm going to say, with my feet on the ground, grounded, what comes to mind is every single day, wherever she's at, and I'm talking down the street, around the park, as soon as she hears my car, which is a loud V8 engine, she runs and she runs and she runs. She finds me, she gives me a hug, and she says, you are the favorite person, my favorite person. And
oh my gosh.
That says, stop going to work endlessly, because you need that in your life. And having somebody that would just willfully let go of everything and trust you inherently says you've done something right to deserve it. But you're doing a few things right to continue to have that happen. And she'll change. I'm sure she'll change and not run home when she's 16, 17. But the relationship that I spend with her and each of my boys and my oldest daughter who lives in Hawaii, I don't get to see her as often, but that is true cherished joy for me.
Beautiful, beautiful. We're going to do it one more time. Deep breath in. Another place, another time, maybe a festival, people, maybe it's business. Who knows? One more little experience that you just were clicking.
Yeah. I mean, if in terms of people, I think of the last, again, with COVID and everything, we did have a lot of people go home and work. We still have a couple people coming to the office. We had a unique situation where our employees said, because we are an employee-run company, they said, listen, there's a lot of people suffering due to the coronavirus. People lost jobs. People don't have food. We want to do something special. It wasn't led by operations or the CEO. It was just naturally came about. And they said, we want to raise some money. We want to collect some food, get a whole bunch of, of materials and goods and stuff. Bring them all together, package them together, and we want to go support 3 or 4 or 5 local places that would support people in need. A month later, I thought it might be a few packages here and there. We're talking 35 people, of which a number of people live remote. Our entire conference room was packed with food, with materials, goods, and I candidly, it just brought a tear to my eye. It just, looking at that, saying, again, we're doing this for something else, and we gain something by doing that, even though we do have gainful jobs and we do have a house and food, but we gain something by connecting ourselves with people that don't, because eventually we're going to be in need as well. So truly that would be the again, together with people, joyful in service is where I find it.
Awesome. So just to put a bow on this, if you could take the moment with your daughter running up and hugging you and kind of letting that resonate through your body, and then the conference room full of food pantry or food, and those 2 moments kind of just being inside, and then connect with one word, if you could. What's the essence of those 2 events? One word.
The only word I get is love. It's just
love,
pure love.
So the point of that whole event is that most CEOs do not get love, and AKA for you, love is joy and joy is love, to run a company, a successful company. So if you could speak to CEOs, what would you say about love and joy?
Don't be afraid to love your employees. It seems like it's a term that you shouldn't embrace. Maybe HR thinks love isn't a place for it, but we say it is a-okay. And love doesn't mean romantic. Love means thick and thin. It means I'm going to yell 1 second and then I'm going to cry the next. Don't be afraid to cry. Don't be afraid to be emotional or to express appreciation in a way that everyone else says it seems weird that you're doing those things. I embrace the weird because we're humans. We're at this together, and if we're just putting this up on a pedestal so that we can somehow magically do something successful, well, we weren't a human through that process. So I would say 100% just embrace your brokenness. That's something that I say almost every day. And trust your people to do exactly what they are trained and capable of doing.
That's interesting. I've talked a lot about brokenness in my life too. So I appreciate you saying that. It's different for everybody. For me, my brother broke my nose when I was 8, right? So there's always a level, maybe it's, some other disfigurement or disability or bullying. There's always some brokenness, but I really appreciate you calling attention to that. So for me, love and joy is the KPI. That's the measurable tool for all other KPIs. So I'm curious, I prepped you a little bit, and I'm wondering what your most important KPI is and how do you prepare for that? How do you measure it?
Yeah, I wish I could measure love. I can measure joy. I wish I could do that. I literally had some document out here just a second ago that has, our actual KPIs on them. Sales, marketing, ops, quality, security, those things all matter. Ultimately, the number that I'm most proud of and the one that we focus on the very most is overall satisfaction of employees and clients. At the end of the day, what that means, it says I am happy, right? That I'm okay. I'm settled with where I'm at. It may be chaotic at times, but satisfaction sometimes doesn't really describe the full story. It says I'm satisfied enough that I'm okay with the chaos, the difficulty, maybe sometimes a high stress environment, but I am perfectly grounded in that, and I want to go head forward into it, and that I am joyfully doing those sorts of things. And so saying 100% satisfaction, you got to sort of break that apart to say what are we really into, what does that mean, what makes up part of that stat. But that's the one that we look at the very most and care the very most about, because I always say people before profits. And if you truly embrace your people, you embrace your clients as people. They are people that are dealing with issues, and you're here to try to help them. Yes, you make money from it, but if you're focused on them first, profits always follow. And I don't ever follow the profit.
I'm super curious if you would be able to project or predict for me how many CEOs have that mentality in the world. I know everyone's different, and I know there's, I'm just curious if you could speak to that sort of generally.
I've been a CEO a number of times over, right? And I can honestly say this was not me. I was, a different human being that, had different problems, different issues, and different makeup. And, after going through various challenges, failures, and wins, I think that I land here. So if I'm sort of taking me as the collective CEO, it took me, a solid 5, 6, 7, really 7 businesses before I said, okay, this is what it's really about. And I'm sure it'll change again, but I really don't have a passion to change again. I really love what I'm doing now. So not 100%, I can tell you that, and it's probably under 50%. But I think those that force themselves to fail, and I think find that sooner versus later.
Thank you for that. I agree with you. And your mantra, if we could start back and come full circle, is to help one another. So do you have a success story that you might share with me based on the fact that your team, not just you, but everyone, is collaboratively working together to help one another?
Yeah, I mean, my story on that is probably less about helping one another, but ensuring that we don't disrupt that culture. And the example I use is that on paper there was an employee that we needed to fill a spot, and I come across somebody highly recommended, the absolute epitome of success in that position, and I recommended that to our director of client success and said, for sure, this person is the top of the heap. She spent 3 interviews going through that individual, and every time she came back, and it kind of frustrated me the first time she came back with it, but said she does not fit our culture. And I said, but she's amazing. Look at all the, her numbers. Look at her experience. And she said, do you want numbers, or do you want a team that gels together, that grows, and do you want to piss off a whole lot of employees? Because that's what she will do. And I'm sort of using that as an example, because what she said is she will 100% get the job done. She will work her ass off until we cover everything that we need to do, and all of her numbers will be perfect. What she said was, and this has stuck with me, and her name's Laura Phillipson, meaning my employee, who told me, Brandon, we're not doing this. And that's really the outward mindset that says you can't achieve greatness by destroying people in your path. You have to lift people as you go through and help others as you go through it. Even if you don't achieve as much greatness, collectively as a whole, you will be a lot more great.
A lot more great. That's what I want to do when I grow up.
We're all trying to grow up.
Yeah. Well, that's pretty incredible that you were able to listen and hear that and make a decision based on what you've hired them to do. So that's incredible. All right. Well, last question, I think maybe just your takeaway from this interview, from the Chair of Joy experience that you went through, and anything else you'd like to leave with our CEOs.
This is the most refreshing podcast, and I got the privilege of being here first and foremost to hear people talking about things that I'm passionate about. I didn't know, quite candidly, that this level of conversation existed. And so sincerely, I'm a convert to JOYELY. I think that this is the right path that we all ought to be really embracing. Find that joy, whatever that pathway is, because I was truly last 30 minutes visiting with you. I feel like a better person as a result.
Good. Well, I would love to ask you to sit in your chair of joy a little more often, celebrate the fact, that you're on the path of doing the right things. I think sometimes we do it and we don't even realize how our level of impact is affecting our teams and our clients and thousands of other people that are in their circles. I mean, that whole food pantry thing, I'm just so blown away by that, and congratulations again. So thank you for being with us today, Brandon. It was an absolute pleasure, and I'm just as much interested in watching this back and learning from you. So you had a lot of great things to say.
Thank you, and I look forward to many in the future watching others go through the seat. Thank you.
This show has been produced by Market Domination, LLC. To discover how you can have your own show completely done for you and turn it into a real published book and become the authority in your marketplace, go to www.marketdominationllc.com/podcast offer.